Facebook has announced a new first-party Android replacement home screen, Facebook Home, also replacing the lock screen with cover feed and highlighting updates from people instead of apps. A typical app launcher is a swipe away, but what you'll see first are full-screen images from your friends' Facebook updates. You can interact with these directly. Android notifications are presented as cards and get sorted using Facebook Home's intelligence, apparently. Chat heads are pop-up faces from your friends letting you know about Facebook Messenger, messages arriving, whatever app you happen to be in. You can move them around so they're not in the way too. You have to be a very heavy Facebook user to appreciate all this, and it's only going to be available on some flagship phones at first, which seems odd as there's not much overlap really between the demographics of Facebook diehards and smartphone uber geeks. Anyway, it'll be available mid-April. Also announced for the USA at least is a phone built around Facebook Home, the HTC First, an otherwise unremarkable 4.3-inch screen 720p mid-range Android slab. While in the lull waiting for the Galaxy S4 to arrive for review, I wanted to do something a little different. What if you didn't need an S4 at all? What if you could save a bundle of money by doing something different? The secret is analysing what you actually want to do with a Samsung Galaxy device. Almost every phone show Galaxy owner I've talked to does what I've done with this, the Galaxy S3 bought for this very show, essentially dispose of almost every item of software that Samsung provides and basically customise the heck out of it. Which makes you kind of wonder why Samsung bother with their TouchWiz interface and their gesture gimmicks and so on. Maybe it's for the man in the street who doesn't know any better. Maybe it's to keep the networks happy. I'd been eyeing up the Galaxy S3 anyways, having a far better camera, screen and speaker than my venerable Galaxy Nexus here. Here's my thinking. 80% of the improvements in the Galaxy S4 over and above the 3 are software that most knowledgeable users hide or delete or ignore, leaving just the slightly larger screen and the slightly larger battery. And that's basically it. I guess I'll find out a bit more first time when the S4 arrives for review. So I thought, why not get the Galaxy S3, which you can now pick up in mint condition, as I did here, second hand for £250, i.e. under half the price of the S4, and then get to work. The end result will be much the same, and you'll have saved a packet, and it'll make an interesting video feature for the show. Well, here we are. I had 3 overarching options. One was to root the Galaxy S3 and apply custom firmware. Cyanogen Mod 10 is probably the most well known. I did quite a bit of research along these lines, but was put off by the number of steps and the sheer destructive geekiness of the ROM flashing procedure. So I filed this option as a last resort. Secondly, I could put on a new application launcher. Nova Launcher Prime came recommended, but again some research showed that this effectively added in, relative to stock Android, many of the features and organisational functions which Samsung's TouchWiz launcher kind of touched on anyway. Again, I wasn't convinced by this option. Thirdly and finally, I reasoned that almost all the things I'd want to change about Samsung's software loadout were things I could get rid of without actually replacing TouchWiz. So I could keep the official firmware as is, stay supported and avoid straying too far outside the homestead. Here's my shopping list of 8 things I wanted to do and did. Number 1, check for latest firmware. This GS3 is running Android 4.1 Jelly Bean officially, complete with, for example, Google Now. Sorted. Number 2, remove the Samsung default set of home screen widgets, all except Flipboard here, which is probably something I'd have added anyway. Number 3, remove the overlight blue dandelion wallpaper and replace with something dark and more AMOLED friendly and simple, so keeping the processor load down. Number 4, in the side-scrolling app drawer, hide every single item of Samsung bloatware, Chat On, Game Hub, Group Play, Help, Messenger, More Services, Music Hub, S-Suggest, Samsung Apps and Video Hub. Phew, that's better, that's much cleaner. Number 5, get rid of that horrible 1 second's delay when I press the home button by deassigning it in the S voice settings. And get rid of the wake up command facility to save battery power. The day you find me saying, "Hi Galaxy," you have my permission to shoot me. And then hiding S voice completely, since I'd much rather use Google's voice recognition, thanks very much, via the wonderful and aforementioned Google Now. Number 6, get rid of the terrible Samsung keyboard. It claims predictive text correction, but won't auto-insert what it thinks your words should be. So you have to tap to insert every last wrong word. Happily, I found this, the Jelly Bean 4.2 keyboard as it sounds in the Play Store, giving the full Google corrected typing experience and this works very well. So I put in my own choice of applications here in the home screen dock and on the lock screen shown here. This is one feature of TouchWiz I'm happy to have. Just swipe up from the icon needed to switch to that application directly. Very nice. Number 8, and finally I installed my own widget. Somewhat minimalist in my case, but hey. Google Now, of course, Flipboard here, music player, dog catcher podcast, picture frame with random photos from my collection, and that's about it. I then removed the empty supplied home screens using the TouchWiz edit page system. Happily, home screens wrap around here on TouchWiz. The absence of this used to drive me mad on the Android stock Nexus devices. That's all quite a bit of work though, taking an hour or two of real time to research and implement, but the end result is something that functions quickly and efficiently and almost exactly as I want it to, and I didn't have to mess around with new launches or new firmware. Most importantly, I did this now, April 2013, on a second-hand device whose hardware is still extremely current in terms of quad-core processor, camera, speaker, screen and so on, all for under £250. And as I say, the end result is more or less what I'd end up with after the same personal preferences had been applied to the brand new S4. The same principle of taking last year's flagship and applying some know-how and optimization applies to many platforms and devices, of course. As a seasoned phone show viewer, you'll know only too well, it's not what you've got within reason, it's what you do with it. And in the meantime, if you're an Android fan looking to move up from something oldish, don't discount getting a used Galaxy S3 and having, well, as much fun as I did setting it up. Ah yes, time for a cosy chat about the phone show itself. I haven't done one in quite a while. I've got some questions here from you lot. Here we go. Why don't you do more on networks and special offers and contracts, Steve? Well, so many other tech shows major on carriers in their own country and stuff which is country specific and is completely irrelevant to the rest of the world. So I tend to ignore that. I want the phone show to be as international as possible. Having just said that, here's the next question. Steve, why do you feature phones which are never going to make it to my country? Because quite often they do come. Sometimes the specs get changed, sometimes the name gets changed. Either way, every new major phone or form factor is noteworthy. And if it's not coming to your country or network, then nag the appropriate people. You never know. Steve, why don't you put out a show every week? Well, the phone show is fortnightly and I often get them done faster than this. But what really needs to happen is that the show becomes more and more of my full-time job. So researching, writing, filming, editing, publishing, and so forth. It all takes time. What needs to happen is that the 20,000 people, the 20,000 regular viewers, more of these need to join what I call the virtual pint of beer a month club. Currently only 171 people do. So over 99% of people watching this clip aren't actually, well, helping at all financially. If I could get to 300 paid virtual pint of beer a month club subscribers, I would commit to a weekly schedule. Steve, why don't you mention PSC more? PSC is Phone Show Chat, of course, my companion audio podcast that I do with Tim Salmon each week. Anecdotally, many people seem to look forward to this almost as much as the main phone show, so I guess your fandom and your support can apply to both. Steve, what are you going to do for Phone Show 200? Well, I'm glad you asked. I'd actually like you to be one of the stars of a Phone Show 200, and I'll read this next bit from the paper. What I need from you is a 30-second video clip in MP4 or 3GP format, shot on your phone or something else, ideally in 720p resolution or greater, telling the world what phone you currently use and why you chose it. Only 30 seconds though, so keep it very quick and snappy. Extra credit will be given to anyone who sneaks in a special 200th show congratulatory message. Because of the size of the video file, you may want to share it in via Google Drive, Dropbox, or you send it, of course. And how long have you got to create this 30-second cinematic masterpiece? Well, about 3 weeks, so perhaps grab the right moment, nice weather, good lighting, and go to it. And yes, you'll get your 30 seconds of fame in the Phone Show 200. Thanks for watching.